Acceleration, Understanding Options on Stock, our second video on call options. Here's our email address and our phone number. You'll see our YouTube site and our website at the end of the broadcast. I'm going to go to the slide toward the end of part 1. At that point we were talking about an IBM May 50 call option. And we said that the buyer pays a fee, a premium, for the right to make decisions, and we saw those decisions on a prior slide in options number 1. And specifically, that buyer has the right to buy 100 shares of IBM common stock at $50 at any time between now, the date the transaction happens, and the end of May. And what I'd like to do is flip to Excel and look at an example here. Looking at the top left-hand corner, this might be how the language looks if you looked up this option in the Wall Street Journal. It says one contract, IBM May 50 call option at 3. Let's break that down and see what those pieces mean. One contract means 100 shares. Each contract is 100 shares. So you control the amount involved is 100 shares of stock. The common stock's IBM. May refers to the month in which the contract expires, and the date can vary, but you'll understand for our simple example it's sometime in May. The $50 is called the strike price or exercise price. That's the price at which the transaction happens, and that's locked in because this is all by contract, which is why we refer to it as a contract. And the 3 refers to the premium, and we multiply $3 a share times 100 shares, and we get a premium of $300. Below this, we're looking at the option buyer and the option seller, those two pieces. And I want to think about the maximum gain and the maximum loss for both sides. So you're the call option buyer. How much is your maximum gain? Well, you're going to pay a premium of $300. And you are buying the right to buy 100 shares of stock at $50 a share. And since stocks can go up on an unlimited amount, your gain can be unlimited because you can sell the stock for an infinite amount. So you would only take advantage of this if the stock price moved above $50 a share. It wouldn't make any sense to buy the stock at 50 when the market price is 20. You're better off just buying it at the market and ignoring your option. That brings us to our maximum loss. You pay your premium, the $300, but you choose not to exercise the option because the stock price has moved below $50 a share. The market price is below this strike or exercise price we mentioned earlier. So your maximum loss is your premium. So for the call buyer, the maximum loss is pretty insignificant compared to how much you can gain. Let's think about the seller side, the person who sold that option. I'm going to make an assumption that they don't own any IBM stock. So the seller receives the premium. The buyer paid a premium. The seller received the premium for $300. And the buyer controls the transaction. In this case, the buyer doesn't exercise the option. Why? Because the stock price moves below $50 a share. The same explanation that we saw in the call buyer's loss explanation. Stock goes down. Buying the stock at a strike price of 50 is not attractive. The option buyer at the top allows the option to expire worthless. The most that seller can gain is the premium. The last part of the example is where things become complicated. How much can that seller of the option lose? Well, he still receives a premium, but in this case the buyer exercises the option, which means he's going to buy the 100 shares at 50, and the seller has to come up with 100 shares to deliver to the buyer. And if stock prices can go up an unlimited amount, the amount the seller may have to pay for the stock on the open market may also be unlimited. So the stock price moves above 50, let's say it's at 70. The buyer calls up the seller and says, hey, I'd like to exercise my option and buy it at $50 a share. And the seller has to go out and buy the stock, and let's say he has to pay 70 and he has a loss. Well, that stock price can go up an unlimited amount. So the maximum loss for the call seller is the premium. And in fact, there's going to be a one-to-one ratio between the buyer's gain and the seller's loss, or vice versa. If the buyer has an unlimited gain, the seller has an unlimited loss. I'm going to change that in the explanation here. Maximum loss is unlimited. Hang on just 1 second. We'll change that and correct it. In the interest of time, I'm just going to put maximum loss is no limit. But that call option buyer's maximum gain is going to be exactly equal to the maximum loss of the seller. On the other hand, the maximum loss of the buyer is going to be exactly equal to the maximum gain of the seller. So there's going to be a one-to-one relationship. If somebody has a $20,000 gain, the other party is going to have a $20,000 loss. There'll be a one-to-one relationship. There's an assumption also here that both sides will honor the contract, and you have to make that assumption throughout. That's our second explanation on call options. If we go to the end of our PowerPoint, this happens to be the end of part 2. Our YouTube channel is Ken Boyd STL, all one word. You'll find a complete list of videos on the home page of our website. That happens to be stltest.net. We do live tutoring and live chat in both groups and one-on-one. You can look at the website for times or call if you want a session for yourself. Here's our email address and our phone number, and we'll see you next time.